Check, hello, hello, hello. Check, check, hello. Guess you can hear me now, probably. Hello. Okay, well that's weird. I never turned that down, so what the heck? You should be, yeah. Okay, how loud am I? Am I alright? Volume-wise? That's funny, I was sitting there talking and getting nothing, huh? That's too bad. Let's go over to another one then real quick before I get started and make sure that... Okay, you can hear me on this one too. Good, good, good. It's so weird because I never turned it off. Okay, so, that would have been a good thing to test then, I guess. It's weird though because I just recorded a video, Friday? And I haven't done anything since, and there was sound in that video, so... I swear there's ghosts that just want you to fail. So what I was actually saying, didn't realize they couldn't hear me, so apologize to anybody. I'll put timestamps obviously later, and people can skip ahead of parts where I'm talking, you can't even hear me. But I came up with this little idea up here on the left, hopefully for my live streams. It'll be kind of a cool idea. There's a sports channel that I follow on YouTube called Man Down Sports. And I'm probably football is the biggest thing that I'm into, but I do follow basketball and a few other things as well. But right now the NBA Finals are going on. I don't know who you guys are pulling for. Rigo, you're a sports fan. Who you pulling for? Do you got a dog in the fight, or what? Just curious if you do. But anyway, so I noticed on his channel he does these little things. He calls it the rundown, and he just goes over kind of what topics he'll be talking about in the video. And I kind of thought that was a cool idea, so I designed this, and it should be something as we go along, like as I come over to like this one when we start talking about stuff. I actually have the ability to show which one I'm on. So I can go like over here to, hold on, let's do topics 1. So then it shows that I'm on topic 1. So I thought that was kind of cool. So anyway, we'll go back over here for a minute and see if anybody else shows up. But first stream, so I'm not really expecting it to go necessarily fancy or anything, but going for Dallas. My team is the Bulls. Well, yeah, I mean, you're my age almost, or a little bit, maybe a little younger, I think, but we're pretty close. You probably were a Jordan fan. So you're like me. I've been a Bulls fan since I was a kid. I'm not a diehard Bulls fan. Same thing with I was a Patriots fan because of Tom Brady, and a lot of people hate the Patriots. But now that Tom Brady's retired, I can't really say that I still go for the Patriots. I don't really even have a team. In fact, this is the first time in my life I don't truly have a team in football to go for. And it's kind of weird. I went for the Niners, which I believe that's your team, right? The 49ers. And that's who I was rooting for obviously last year, and disappointing finish to that for them, but that's kind of who I liked as a kid because they had Steve Young and Jerry Rice and stuff. So that's kind of who I pull for in football. But in basketball, Bulls first. But like right now, it's funny because I just didn't want the Lakers. Lakers were the only team I didn't want, and so once they were out, I was happy. But I wanted whoever came out of the West. So initially, I wanted Denver. Even though they won last year, I kind of liked Denver. But they got beat by the T-Wolves. But then I wanted T-Wolves to beat the Mavericks, and then the Mavericks beat them. And now I want Mavericks to beat Celtics, but I have a feeling that the way it's been going is they're going to end up losing. Yes, sir. The Pats and the Niners. The Pats, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't like the Pats. That's a controversial team to like. Kind of like Dallas. I don't like Dallas. I'm sure you don't since you're a Niners fan, but they're one of those teams you either love or you hate. Patriots probably won't be a team that people hate forever because it doesn't look like they're going to be worth much for the next, foreseeable future. So they'll probably become a team that no one cares about anymore. But they had a lot of success. So of course that's going to be the nature of sports. I'm that way. I'm kind of anti-Chiefs right now, and I don't have a good reason. Mahomes is a good quarterback. Seems like a decent guy. Kelsey's a little cocky, and I was getting tired of the whole Taylor Swift crap, but. I just really I just root against them because they've won too much and I'm tired of it. And I actually blame myself because I was a Patriots fan and I was spoiled for the past 20 years or whatever. I became a Patriots fan when they were playing the Rams. So the 2000 Super Bowl or whatever that was, might have been 2001, but officially. But anyway, so I was, Niners had just, kind of became irrelevant. Steve Young had retired. Jerry Rice had went to the Raiders, and I was actually going for them when they lost to the Buccaneers. But anyway, you know all that since you know your football history. But I was kind of without a team then as well because Steve Young had retired, like I said. So then I started going for just the underdog in that Super Bowl. Kind of liked the Tom Brady story. And so then I just became a fan of them and rooted for them clear up until he moved to the Bucks. Then I went for the Bucks for a minute. So I'm a fair weather fan, I guess. I jump around, but at least I was a fan of them for 20 years. It wasn't like I became a fan of them after they won 3 Super Bowls. That's the definition of a bandwagoner. At least I was an original bandwagoner. So, all right, let's catch up with what you got going here. Yes, sir, the Cowboys are not American. Yeah, no, I agree. In fact, the Patriots probably were for a minute, even though people hated them. I mean, they were probably America's team. But I'd say, I don't know who I'd say. Chiefs right now. It's kind of like whoever's popular, really, becomes America's team. I've always thought Pittsburgh's pretty popular, too, which I hate Pittsburgh, but they're popular. I mean, Niners and Packers, a couple of teams that I feel like if you travel around the country, they have some of the most diehard fans there are, especially the Packers. They seem like they have fans everywhere, and I don't really care for them, but, every time Chiefs got a first down, they would show... I know. That whole Taylor Swift thing, man, I mean, I don't think they realized that, the casual fans that they thought that they were appeasing to, maybe they were, but, like, us fans that actually watch the games every week, like, that drove us nuts. I almost quit watching football because of that. I mean, it really did drive me nuts, but I was hoping they would lose the Super Bowl and it would be a big laughing thing, but of course they win, and I can't even really blame anybody for it. Like, usually I want to blame the refs when the Chiefs win, but I wouldn't even say the refs had anything to do with it. All right, well, maybe we could talk a little crypto. I don't know. Let me see. I guess I could pull up my live stream real quick on just a YouTube page. I don't really know how to tell. Are you the only one here? I don't really care if you are, but I've kind of not used to this yet. So let's see. I had a little page pulled up that should show me non-concurrent viewers. Oh, we have 4 views. I don't know what concurrent means, but maybe that means they're the people that are here. So we got a couple of you here. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hop over to this screen here. This is actually Bitcoin. You can't see that because I put the live thing in the way. But that's the first thing we're going to talk about, actually, is Bitcoin and the S&P 500. Now, this is a test stream again. I did a test stream before, but I'll still call this my test stream just because it really is like the first official stream I've done. And those of you that are in my Telegram group, which of course that link's always in the description, so you're welcome to join it. I think we have like 65 members. I want to say maybe 5 or 10 somewhat active members. Rigo in the chat being one of the most active that there is. A couple other guys. I don't know if the rest of the members that have joined just look at it every once in a while and just don't like to talk, or if they literally just joined it and then forgot about Telegram. I don't know, but there is like 5 or 10 guys that'll chime in fairly frequently, at least 5 anyways. And then myself, of course. But you can join that. That's free. But as far as like those that are in my group know that I work a full-time job, besides trading and things of that nature and doing the YouTube channel. And I have a kid now, a son that's just turned 15 months old. And so between those two things, I don't get to stare at the charts as much as I used to. So in the past, a lot of my videos that I made maybe were a little more geared towards this is what's happening today. I'm making this trade right now. And even in the group, I'd post trades. And we're going to get back to that point, especially as my son gets older and older and requires a little bit less of my attention as far as, he can actually play a little bit without me having to watch every move he makes. Because those of you that have kids understand that when they're that tiny age, that you literally can't step away much or else, they might die. They literally rely on you to live. So because of that, when I'm looking at the market now, I just like to look at it more at weekly and daily charts. I'm not really zooming in as much, but we can a little bit, while we're doing the stream, kind of explain the past, if I were to be making, daily trades right now, or at least, short-term trades, what I might be looking at. But right now, just on the bigger perspective of things, we're kind of, in my opinion, in just a wait and see mode. We really do have what I would call, and we'll go to the daily chart to see this better, actually. I had it on the weekly because I was looking at it earlier. But really, when you look at the daily, we're just in a big range that basically we've been in since February, since I guess that'd be the end of February, right? So I mean, we're going on, I want to say it's been like 90 days or something. Yeah, we're going on like 100 days basically. So 3 months that we've been hanging out in the same range, which the range literally goes from like just over 59,500-ish on the bottom side. Of course, it dipped below once. This was kind of what people inside of trading would call a bear trap. But anyways, so we did dip below there, but for the most part, we've literally just been hitting the top of the range, which is where we put in the new, the high, of course, the most recent, or the current all-time high for Bitcoin, which would be differ depending on the exchange you look at. But of course, here we're looking at, I think, 73,650 there, and 73,777. It's really close to 74. I know that on most exchanges. But then, of course, down, then back up to the bottom side of the range. So whenever I draw out charts, I like, and people that have seen my charts in the past know that this is what I do, but I'll put these little boxes, rectangles, that are either red if it's resistance or green if it's, support. And basically, it's just as simple as if it's above you and it's resistance until you break through it, and if it's below you, it should act as support. So for example, we could probably put a box down here as well to say that we have a support box that ranges down here. This is the bottom side of the range, and really I think the box is more like that, and it's fine if it dips below it a little bit if it recovers, but you're never going to see, even at the top, sometimes you'll see it wick above. That's called bull traps, bear traps. These are just terms that people put to explain what's going on. Let me catch up on Chaga real quick. So, the only thing that would make me happy if crypto portfolio goes up 10,000, well, yeah, that'd make all of us happy. I think the long consolidation for Bitcoin around the levels is good. That's what I think. I actually, and I'll talk about it briefly here. I was under the opinion, or I still am of the opinion, that we could see a larger pullback. But the thing is, in fact, I thought it would happen here. This would have made sense, and I think that too many YouTube channels at the time thought, too many YouTubers, too many traders, too many influencers, too many people on Twitter, X, I guess. Sorry, I still haven't gotten used to calling Twitter X. But anyway, too many people on social platforms, I think, thought this was going to be that bigger pullback. And one thing you'll learn the longer you're in the markets, even if it's traditional markets, but especially crypto, is whatever you really truly think is going to happen doesn't end up happening. Whatever the vast majority of people believe doesn't happen. So I thought this was the move that was going to bring us back down, because what I still think could happen, and maybe it'll just be one of those moves that catches us off guard, and that's fine too, as long as you're not in the middle of some big trade or put your life's wealth into the levels we're at now. But what I've kind of thought all along is that it would make sense for us to pull back somewhere, around 50,000, maybe a little bit above, maybe somewhere in this green box. But that's kind of the level I've been eyeing, and especially if it does it. And the funny thing is, too, is if it goes to that level, it's probably going to dip barely below. It's not like it's going to hit perfect. It never does. It either will dip below a little bit, or it will obviously stop above it somewhere around like 55. You want things to be perfect in trading. You want to be like, okay, if it breaks this support, we're going to go bounce here perfectly, consolidate, and then boom to the moon. But it's just not the way it works, unfortunately. Otherwise, everybody make a lot of money because trading would be easy. But, I do think that if it's going to happen, it's probably happens in the next month or so. Because I really do believe that as we get towards the end of the year, especially towards the latter part of summer going into the end of the year, we're probably going to start seeing some new all-time highs, just because typically, and this is just living in America and kind of understanding that a lot of the stocks, we're in an election year, and so obviously those of you that are outside of the United States, if you're new to trading, you may not realize that stocks tend to kind of follow the election years, because there's going to be a lot of promises made, and I'm not really going to give you a political rundown, because I don't follow it that well to begin with, so I'd be the last person to give you a political rundown. But typically you're going to have, like in this case, we got Biden and maybe Trump going to run against each other again, and they're going to each have their little spill, their promises, or whatever they're going to say they'll do. And in Trump's case, it's probably going to be bullish for things related to interest rates and things like that. And of course, Biden may promise whatever he promises, and typically gas prices go down leading into the end of the year, going into an election year, things of that nature. So people tend to get a little more involved in stocks because they have the extra money to play with. Plus, like I said, prices go down, things like that. So, and it just will fit in line, which we'll go over that in a second too. It kind of lines up with, in fact, we can go over it now. It kind of just lines up with the 4-year cycles, which, a lot of people might say, okay, this is just something that happens for randomly, but I really don't think so. I think a lot of it has to do with the elections and things like that too. But if you look back here, you probably can't see it. Let me actually zoom this in a little bit better. I gotta be conscious of where my face is and where that live thing is, I guess, as I show stuff on the chart. But Presidential meme coins are going off on Solana. And I know that's kind of bugging me. I mean, for two reasons. I wish I would have got aboard that whole train, and I'm not saying that I can't still. It's going to have its next run of meme coins. They're still kind of having a run. And especially as we go into the elections, which is what you're mentioning here, is that those presidential coins are going to go off. But just in general, it's been fairly annoying for us OG crypto people that the meme coins have stole all the attention. Because, you know, we have got guys in our group that have a lot of money in ADA, for example, Cardano. I don't have any Cardano. At the end of this actual live stream, I'm going to talk about kind of the coins that I currently hold. You know, I have a lot of coins that I'm eyeing to hold, you know, on the next big dip, or if we break and start putting in new highs. But coins that I actually hold, and most of those are, you know, OG, dinosaur, solid coins that I would think that should perform, and they probably will. You know, I don't ever want to say anything's a guarantee, but right now it's like all the attention's been in these meme coins, and I think they're kind of dumb. You know, they don't really have any purpose for the most part. And last bull run, you know, I remember it was all about the NFTs, of course. And those felt like they at least had a little more purpose. In a lot of cases, you know, the ones that did the best didn't actually. But, you know, those ape coins, I thought that the actual end product was kind of stupid in my opinion. But there was at least something there tangible that people were putting money into. Versus right now, meme coins literally are just memes. I mean, most of the projects that I've looked at, like, you know, Whiff, for example, Dog with Hat, pretty sure that one literally just, they say it's going to be like a platform for memes to exist on or something, but what does that really mean? Like, what does that mean? I don't know. Rigo, you follow this stuff better than I do, so maybe you know a little more about what some of the meme coins really are meant to do. But even like SHIB, at least, you know, I believe that is some sort of like a platform to swap cryptos or something. I don't know. I'm not a fundamental guy. That's one thing I've been very honest about with my channel. You know, unless I need to dive into a certain project to make a video about it. But I mean, I believe SHIB at least has a purpose. It may not be, its price probably doesn't warrant, you know, its purpose probably isn't good enough for the price that it has, if that makes sense. But that's 90% of crypto in a bull run. Or it's either that there's way too much money in something that doesn't warrant it, or it's vice versa. It's an undervalued project, and it never seems to be that the two come together. And if they do, it's very brief, right? Bear markets, things are undervalued. Bull markets, they're overvalued. But back to what I was saying, if we look here from the top of the 2017 until, you know, crypto started going parabolic, which you'll see obviously that in this cycle and the one before it, you know, we didn't actually put in a new high till after the halving. Everybody that's been in crypto this year, that's not brand new to it at least, understands that this cycle's different in that regard because we put in a new high prior to the halving. But to me, that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I think that some of the bigger timing things are still in line, and this will be one of them I'm going to show you. So we have about 1,100 days there before it actually broke and started going actual parabolic, and the cycle as a whole lasted you know, till the second top anyway, which we'll call that the full cycle, about 1,428 days. We can actually zoom in here. I wish I knew a better way to do this faster, but, and this is actually this is the only chart I know of personally on TradingView that goes back as far as you need it to see this. So it's not the USDT chart, it's actually Bitstamp's USD chart, and so the prices will vary just barely, I think, from what you see like on another chart. But anyways, so we got the 2013 top here, and if we pull that over to where it started kind of going parabolic, which we could maybe say started about here, it's about 1,288 days, so a little bit longer, and actually really it was more like here, so 1,250-ish days. And then again, for it to top, let's grab another one of these and pull it over. You know, 1,484. So, I mean, that's pretty similar, right? You had a little bit longer before this cycle started to go parabolic, but the end of the cycle still came under 1,500 and over 1,400. Here, you know, the one that we just had prior to this one we're in now, very, very similar. So if we go over and look actually at where we're at now, we can actually see, okay, where are we for days? We're at 938. So in either case, we're lower than what's been normal for us to start kind of going to the parabolic phase. In fact, if you wanted to maybe just take an average between, you know, the 1250 and the 1100, that's 150 difference. So what would that be, like 12, almost like 1175, right? 1175, I think, would be the average between those two. I used to be better at math, but I don't do math that much anymore. Okay, so something like 1175. So, I mean, you're looking at maybe like the end of this year, which would line up, right? I think if you had to, you know, put a gun to my head and ask me what I think would happen the rest of this year, I think we'll see a pretty good run at some point leading into like October, November. But I do think there's going to be a large pullback after the new year. That's kind of normal too after the elections. And then, you know, you'll see some consolidation and then finally the blow off top, which I think happens somewhere between October and like, you know, December of 2025. But anyway, if we go out and project that to say 14, we'll just put 1500, you know, which is longer than either of the last two cycles went. That puts you at the end of next year. So a lot of people predict crypto to top around the end of next year, and that's the one, you know, logic or line of thinking I personally agree with as well. I don't know that it'll happen exactly at the end of the year. It could happen a month or two or three before. Could even go into, you know, 2026 by a month or two. You know, we'll have to kind of see what the landscape of the economy is doing at the time, what regular stocks are doing, and all of that. But at the end of the day, that has been the consistent part of the last couple cycles of crypto, is that, you know, the 4-year cycle. And to me, it very much lines up with the election and then that first year after that. Now, granted, there could be, you know, black swan event or something could happen at some point. In between now and then, you know, we don't know that, but just as far as the overall timing of things, the main point I wanted to get across before we move on to the S&P 500 is just that it's still all in line to me. And I think that we're in no man's land right now. And what I mean by that is, again, if we go back over to this chart, I think if it was somebody that just got into crypto today, you know, just today, well, if you just got in today, you probably shouldn't be buying anything. You should probably educate yourself. But let's say you've been in crypto for a month or maybe two, maybe towards the beginning of, or let's just say you got in right after this broke its all-time high. That's what made you find out about crypto. For your sake, let's hope you didn't buy any altcoins based on somebody or friend telling you that you should, because I'm pretty sure most everything's down since that time. But, you know, let's just say you've educated yourself a little bit, but you're wanting to get into crypto now. You've researched a few projects and you want to get in. I think that, you know, anytime we dip back down, and if we dip back down here again, sure, you know, good spot to DCA a little bit. We don't know if this support will hold up. It has already, you know, once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. So, I mean, until it breaks, it is still support. So, you know, you could look at something down around those levels, which are anything between 60 and 61K, I think is a good value. But, you know, if it comes back down one more time, there's a very good chance that it could also break to the downside. And I think the ultimate levels to get at would be anything between about 55,000 onward down to 50. If it dips below that, great, you know, pick up some more. Odds are if it dips much below that, there was probably some sort of an event that was the catalyst, something that we can't predict right now, you know, today. It could be, you know, some sort of a little black swan event that could cause it to go lower. But I think anything, you know, below that would be the greatest buy, right? But other than that, you know, if you don't get these, because sometimes you wait around for pullbacks that don't happen, would be a break, you know, with volume. You know, that's something that you kind of have to look back a few days later to really see. But let me see if I think I have it closed right now. Volume. Yeah, so this volume indicator can sometimes be useful on the higher time frames. You can see, like, whether it's green or red, as long as there's a large spike in volume, you can see whether the breakout or breakdowns are legit. And in this case, you know, for example, you have this big green volume spike when it broke above this support level. Well, now it's support, but when it broke above 60K, you know, you could view that as a very much legit breakout. And then especially here when it wicked down and retested it, so it flipped this as support, you had an even bigger box. I mean, don't let the color scare you. At the end of the day, it did go up. The point is that it was a volume spike. I believe how the volume metric works here, the indicator is just whatever more volume was towards. Was there more sell volume or more buy volume? If it ended red, that just means there was more sell volume. But it held up as support at the end of the day. And so, you know, that's kind of why we are where we are, right? It held up, we were able to bounce. It's why it keeps bouncing since then as well, in my opinion, because a lot of people view that as the area that was flipped legitimately to support. There were a lot of buyers that came in then, so there's not as many sellers, in my opinion, at that level as buyers, at least in the midterm, right? So, plan A, plan B for me on Bitcoin would be, again, like I said, anything that went back down in these levels, great. Buy some altcoins, buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum. Just, make sure you DCA your dollar cost average. But on the other side of that, a breakout with volume, which is why I brought that up above this, and a retest, something where we actually see, similar to this, break, retest, and flipped as support. If we can flip that, odds are that we're making our next leg up. Now, what will that be? We'll have to do some TA at the time. I'm not going to spend a lot of time TA in that, since I don't believe we're going to do that in the next 24 to 48 hours anyways. And, those targets could be based off a few things, fib levels, patterns, which I don't really think that we're in much of a pattern right now, honestly. Some people might zoom out and think we're in some sort of a bull flag, but I don't really feel like when we're in a pattern that lasts 3 months that you could really call it a bull flag. At the end of the day, we just have resistance above our heads, and we haven't broken it yet. Now, the S&P 500, a lot of times when I make my daily videos, or I used to at least, I would bring up the S&P 500 just because at the end of the day, if this is bullish alongside crypto, there's going to be a better chance crypto performs. They can each do their thing independent of each other, especially if the S&P 500 is just kind of ranging. Bitcoin may pull back while it's ranging. Bitcoin might go up while it's ranging. But generally, the more things you have pointing in the same direction, which in this case, the S&P 500 is traditional stocks, right? If it's going up, which it has been more or less going up since it broke out of this large falling wedge, clear back in January, so the beginning of 2023, we've mostly gone up. We've seen some pullbacks. Of course, we had this little pullback here, little wedge, right? Bull flag, that might be something you could possibly call a bull flag. Bull flags are usually a little bit more, not quite such a steep decline. They just probably call that a falling wedge, but at the end of the day, it actually was just a retest of this previous resistance down here. It retested it as support, went up. And the last video that I made about the S&P 500, I believe, the last video I made anyways, we were talking about if it broke above this previous high over here and was able to flip it as support, which it did here, that at that point, there's a lot of different targets you could come up with. We don't really have an exact pattern here that I think's clear. You could use fib levels, which, this fib retracement tool, if you take it from like this last high, and you drag down to the low, that's one way you could come up with a target. You've got the 1.272, which didn't really respect that in any way. That's not really a level that a lot of traders are looking at, but the 1.618 is definitely a level, and that's up around 5,600. I came up with a more conservative target just based on it's an ugly pattern. I wouldn't trade it, wouldn't put my life on it by any means, but you more or less had this area that was acting as resistance, right? You kind of have a cup and a handle. A true cup and handle shouldn't have all of this going on. It should be a little bit more of a steep incline, and then some consolidation sideways, and then more of a pretty like that, and then a handle, and then a breakout, right? With what we call the neckline. This is a very sketchy cup and handle, so I'm not gonna put my stamp of approval on it. But that being said, the measured move for that would be taking just the bottom, and I like to use the candle body closes, not the wicks. But if you just took the bodies and you drag up to what's called the neckline, you can then take that over to the breakout, and that's actually where I came up with this target area around 5,500. I don't necessarily think that that's going to be where it stops if it gets to there or anything like that, but it's just a good area to have in mind that, okay, if it hits that, let's be cautious. Maybe that's an area that hopefully some other traders are looking at in the market, something to just to give ourselves something to have an alert on, mainly, so we can, if we have any open trades, which I don't right now, but if I did, I might go, okay, let's just see how it reacts at this level. And then especially that 618 that we talked about. So you could actually make a little zone of kind of, let's go ahead and put a horizontal line there on the S&P 500, and then take our tool here and make ourselves kind of a zone of a target for the S&P 500, something to keep an eye out for. And if you're new to TradingView, if you've never used it before, you can actually set up, I think, a free, gives you so many free days or something. I can't really remember. It's been so long since I set one up, but you should be able to try this out for free for like a month. But the biggest thing that helps me in TradingView and helps anybody that actually trades on a consistent basis is to set alerts. And so you can actually come on any line that you've put on here and you can hit add alert on the horizontal line. And so it'll pop up this little create an alert thing, and you can tell it whether you want it to trigger just once. So does it hit, if it hits that line once, then my alert sets off and it's done and it won't go off ever again. I could also set it up to do it at once per bar. So if it's above it and I'm on like the weekly time frame, then once a week that it's above it, it might set me an alert. If I was on the daily, it would do it once a day. This bar close just means, I think that's actually the one I just explained was the bar close, but if it were to close above it on whatever time frame, each time it did, it would give me an alert. The once per minute would probably drive me crazy, so I don't think anybody would want to use that one, but I always just use the once. Once I see it, I can make a new plan, put new lines, so I think once makes the most sense. We're going to call this SPX higher target. I think I actually right-clicked on the higher line there. And that's all I need. I can hit create, and that's actually going to send me a text or an email or an alert. I actually have the TradingView app on my phone, so it just sends me a little, notification when that triggers. And I can hit right click on this other one and hit add alert and do the same thing. I can just put SPX lower target and hit create. So that's kind of what we're looking for on that. Now, if that's going to pull back in the short term, right? If this rejection holds up, which so far it has. I mean, it's on the lower time frames, Bitcoin's very much consolidating again, but at the end of the day, on these higher time frames, this may just be yet another rejection. If you were to zoom in a little bit, you can actually say that we're possibly working on a double top. And I'll explain real quick what that is if we zoom in. So a double top would just mean we have a rejection here, that's top one, a rejection here, that's top two. Where did the first rejection find support? Basically here. In fact, I'll put a line there. And so the way this would get confirmed is a breakdown of this neckline, or whatever you want to call it. If it breaks down and retests, this would be the way you'd want to enter a short. But then that means the measured move for that would just be taking the top of this. I use the candle bodies down to here, right? Dragging that down. And more or less, at the end of the day, it's going to be pretty obvious that the measured move is just going to be back down here to test this support. So I believe I didn't used to do a lot of trading on the higher time frames with these, which I probably should have. But these are what you'd call like the range high, the mid range, and the range low. So within this range we've been in for 3 months, this up here, of course, is the range high. That's our all-time high / just below it resistance. You have these levels that have been bouncing, and then this level I'm referring to, which is the neckline of this double top, is what they call the mid-range. So if you were day trading, you might look for this to come back, either bounce at the mid-range and maybe come back up again, or if it breaks below it, you might short some coins back down to the main support of the overall range. But what I was going to say is what could be the catalyst for that to break down is if the S&P 500 sees a pullback. So we had a little short-term thing I had drawn up on here. I think I was actually showing my friend at the bar the other day because he invests in traditional stocks. And this, wasn't the other day. This is the weekly chart, so it's been a month ago. But I was telling him at the time that I wanted to see this pullback to here or break above and retest this little high as support, and then I think it was a good idea to get in whatever stock he was looking at the time. And so that obviously played out that way. That was the kind of the plan A. Plan B, I considered that no man's land at the time. I'm gonna catch up on what Rigo's over here saying. I'm gonna buy new altcoins. Got too many that have experienced bull run already. Yeah, and I'm starting to feel that way too. Thankfully, I don't have a whole lot of coins I hold. I used to think that was not cool, that I wish I held more at one point, but now I'm grateful that I don't, because I think so many of them are not doing as what they should be and might not do what we hope they do. But time will tell. I'm sure they'll have their run, but it just might not be what we hope for. But anyway, so let's just say that this breaks back down below here, then I think we're looking at the S&P 500 potentially coming back to retest this support back down here. And if that happens, then there's a good chance that Bitcoin's going to obviously go along with it, most likely. And that might see us test the bottom of the range again. So I guess the moral of that whole long story to do with Bitcoin is not much is happening, right? We're just in a range. We've recently tested the top of it. Again, got rejected. Overall, we've actually been putting in slightly lower highs. Obviously, this was our all-time high. This rejection was slightly lower. This rejection was slightly lower. This one's almost exactly the same as that one, but it's definitely not higher. So if anything, you know, we're seeing more and more. We're seeing people that might have bought down here or might have bought up here previously, willing to take less of a profit or take less of a loss, I guess, or whatever. It depends on where they bought it. They're just wanting to get out of it, essentially. There's still more sellers than there is buyers, but it is bullish that we haven't broken back down below here yet. The longer that we range, you know, the better, I guess, if you're hoping to not see a new low. And okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. I think I still just have Rigo in here, and I don't believe you have any questions for me. So we're going to go ahead and pop on topic number 2. Do you look at the old total 3 often? I do. I actually do. I'm not going to talk about that in today's video. I'm not going to do any TA on it. But no, I look at the total 2 and the total 3, but the total 3 is my more go-to chart for that. A bunch of my stuff reset on my trading view here like a few weeks ago, and a lot of the stuff I had drawn up, of course, disappeared. So you're going to see when I come over here, there's not much happening on my total chart at the moment. But yeah, no, I do look at this chart actually quite a bit. Just for targets, for like if we see major breakouts. Like right now, if we can, I used to have an alert set here. I guess it disappeared. I think if we can break above this at some point, you know, that'll be when we're probably going parabolic on altcoins. A support level that would be a good spot to possibly pick up a bunch of alts would be back down here at like 537 billion. That would probably correlate with a breakdown of the lower side of that range we talked about. I think if Bitcoin bounces at, you know, 60K again or above, that's probably not going to go quite that far down. It got pretty close, it looks like, over here in April, very close to that lower range. But, you know, anything back down that way is a good buy, in my opinion, for the overall bull run. It might not be the low, but you're going to get some good prices on a lot of things. And that's a lot of money, actually, to come out of crypto, just between 653 billion and, you know, potentially as low as 537. That's over 100 billion coming out of crypto. So you'd see some pretty big blood in the streets if that happened. And I'm sure you did. I didn't really, I guess I'd have to look. But here on April 8th or whatever that was, that week of April 8th anyway, I mean, that was obviously a bloody week and some pretty good buying opportunities. But yeah, we'll talk about total 3 and total 2 in a future live stream. Probably maybe the next one, actually. That might be a good topic to go over, would be that one. Leave. Yes. Actually, let's just take a split second here. I need to drink some water anyway. Let's go back over to here. Those of you that have tuned into this point, I know Rigo's probably the only one here, but maybe some of you will end up watching the stream later. And I appreciate Rigo sticking around, actually, especially at the beginning, and helping me realize I had no volume. How terrible would that have been to go through an entire stream and not have the microphone working? But anyway, I'll start doing these every day, actually, I hope. As long as I could do them in about an hour. I get off work usually at my time around 3:30, which is like 5:30 Eastern time. So I could start them at 6 Eastern time, and I can go till 7. So I'm going to start doing these every day. Just remember to like and subscribe. I appreciate that. The likes, I believe, help quite a bit with the algorithm. And of course, subscribing just helps me to get to the goal of 1,000 subscribers. So anyway, we've talked about the S&P 500. We're going to move on actually now to Bitcoin dominance. Yeah, thank you, Rigo. I appreciate that. Rigo's definitely my most loyal, I guess, subscriber. We could call him that to the point. He's in my Telegram group, and he's probably the most active there. In fact, I wouldn't say probably. 100% the most active there. I think we're pretty similar in age, so we seem to have a lot of the same interests in sports and things, so he's easy to talk to. I think if Rigo lived nearby, if he's my neighbor or something, we'd probably be friends. You know, I say in real life, of course we're friends in real life, but you know what I mean. If we'd be friends outside of the internet, I think, if Rigo was my neighbor or lived here in town. But anyhow, I appreciate him. So we're going to hop over now to the dominance chart. Let me move back over to here. And the dominance chart, the reason I wanted to bring this chart up, I'll quickly explain what it is. I feel like there's always people that watch videos that haven't, have never heard of it before. Most people have. Obviously, you have, Rigo, so this explanation is not going to do anything for you, but it will help out anybody new to the group, or at least help them to understand my mindset when it comes to this chart. This chart Just what it does is it represents, if you actually look up here on the top left, my live thing's in the way, but it says it's the market cap Bitcoin dominance. What it means is at any given time, what percent of the overall money in all of crypto is in just Bitcoin. And so if you look over here to the right, probably can't see it very good. I need to learn how to zoom in and stuff too on things when I do live streams, but it's at 55% right now, which just means that 55% of all of the money in crypto is just in Bitcoin. So that means more than half of all the money that's in crypto right now, which we can actually pull up a chart that's just the total. So Rigo actually asked in the chat about total 3. Total 3 just is a chart showing all of the money in crypto minus Bitcoin and minus Ethereum. There's one called total 2 that's just minus Bitcoin. And then if you just look up at the total, that is just going to show you all of the money, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and altcoins included. So as of right now, at the time of making this live stream, we've got $2.46 trillion in all of crypto, and 55% of that is in just Bitcoin, right? So that's kind of what this chart shows you. And I believe I pulled up a, yes. I've got this little understanding the Bitcoin dominance cycle. I'm not going to go over this in depth, but just wanted to kind of explain to you as well that when you're looking for altcoin seasons, you want certain things to line up in our favor. And one of them, when we go back over here to the chart in a second, is going to be literally just anytime it meets a high, a big level of resistance at a high percentage, which might be where it's at now, might be 60, might be 65, whatever it is, and then it starts to retrace, and the higher it goes, the better actually for a longer altcoin season. But while Bitcoin dominance is rising, it just means more attention's in Bitcoin. And this chart explains whether that's going to be really bad for the altcoins or just kind of temporarily bad for the altcoins. So right here you have a scenario where it says Bitcoin dominance is increasing, Bitcoin itself is increasing, altcoins just, decrease. And really all that means is that, money is just going into Bitcoin. That's where the attention is. Maybe some people that had some altcoins even possibly sold some of their altcoin positions to get into Bitcoin. And that's kind of what is happening, or has been happening right now. Anytime Bitcoin does see a rally, is altcoins aren't really rallying with it, at least not any sustained rallies, right? Overall, over the last couple of days, for example, or week, Bitcoin has gone up since it last tested its support that we talked about, but I don't know that very many altcoins, as far as like the top 100 that are really in the green, especially like a lot of green, like we're talking 30-40% type things. There might be some up 5%, 10%, but so then you have, if it increases but Bitcoin itself decreases, this is like the worst case scenario for altcoins. This would mean that this is kind of what happens at the top, actually, like when Bitcoin tops, or anytime it sees a major pullback, or if there was like a black swan event. But if the Bitcoin dominance percent's going up, but Bitcoin's going down, well, obviously, and altcoins are going down fast, it means that everything's getting sold. It just means altcoins are selling at a faster rate than Bitcoin. Therefore, Bitcoin's percentage of the overall market is going up, but the whole, total money as a whole is coming down. It's just coming out of altcoins faster. So, this is bad for everything you're holding, but especially altcoins. And then, we won't talk about all of them, like I said, we'll move on, but this would be what they call altcoin season on this chart. It's Bitcoin dominance is decreasing while Bitcoin is increasing. And I'd even argue that it's not necessarily increasing all the, at the top of a altcoin season or at the peak. It may just be stable. But if it is going up a little bit, that helps, just because anytime Bitcoin's showing strength, that's good. But sometimes some of the best altcoin seasons actually happen when Bitcoin's just ranging, right, sideways. Like, for example, let's say it does break above 75K in the next month, and then hit something like 85K, and then it's able to sit in range between 80 and 85K, then you might start seeing also altcoin season happen, because when that first breaks above, the new, you're gonna see this percentage. As we'll go ahead and minimize that. So if Bitcoin breaks above its all-time high again, which back over here on the chart, again, like we said, that's basically 73 to 74K, depending on the chart you're looking at. If it breaks above that, odds are that people are going to FOMO into Bitcoin, right? That's just where the money flow goes first. And so this has potential, in my opinion, to go higher, This Bitcoin dominance could go through this current resistance that it's about to meet. This might be a good spot for a little mini alt season, but, depending on how long it takes to get there, it might consolidate below it, but there's a very good chance that it breaks above that at some point. We might even see Bitcoin dominance reach 60%. And I almost guarantee that it will if we see Bitcoin putting in something like 80K, right? Because that's where people are going to FOMO. That's where, you know, more money from big institutions also are going to come into Bitcoin, that kind of stuff, right? And so when we're looking to get an altcoin season, we're just looking for a major resistance level and a major rejection from that resistance level simultaneously with Bitcoin showing strength. So like, for example, right now, if we were to hit this level and potentially, you know, start to range or something, but Bitcoin breaks down, then we're probably going to see this most likely break up, because altcoins are going to continue, at least right now, until Bitcoin breaks above its all-time high again and puts in a new high. Anytime it's getting rejected, I think altcoins are going to continue to just bleed more. Now, that may not be the case if Bitcoin breaks down quickly and ends up hanging out back down at 60K again. This gets, you know, rejected here. Maybe we get I called it a mini alt season, and that's possible. You know, if anytime this retraces, most likely altcoins are performing well. You know, I say most likely because there are scenarios where everything's coming down and Bitcoin's just coming down faster, but that's very rare for that to happen. So typically, if this is going down, that's good for altcoins, right? So we're getting close to a level, but again, this chart also is in no man's land, because I don't know that. Oh, hey, Kim, how we doing? Yeah, thanks for the alpha. You bet. In fact, Kim, are you in Alpha Commissions group? Is that where you came from? I know that you found my channel through somebody else, I think, initially. Yeah, okay, cool. But yeah, let me know where you found my channel. I know you've been around a while, but I feel like it was something to do with maybe Alpha Commission's channel, or maybe it was Joe's channel, something like that. But anyway, I'll look back with your answer here in a sec. So anyway, we'll move on from this chart as well. But this is, for me, to really see an altcoin season, it's kind of like the no man's land I mentioned on Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin needs to put in a new high and consolidate above its old high for people to get bullish again. Do I think that's going to happen in the next day or two or even a week? I don't personally. I think we're looking at still another month, probably at the very least, before we see something significant happen inside of crypto as a whole. And then, does this actually go higher first? I think that'd be awesome. I think it's still okay to buy some dips right now. Maybe not the dips day to day per se, while we're still up above 65K anyways. I think, you know, if you have a positions, stick with what you got. If you're brand new, either wait for a breakout or wait for a larger pullback. But for those of us that are waiting for alt season, I think we're waiting a little longer. We might see some temporary breakdowns, because even if this little pattern I drew broke down, it's not like that's going to be a big measured move. You know, if it broke down in the next few days or something, then yeah, maybe it comes back and tests this support back down here. We get a little mini alt season, but I mean, it's not like that's going to lead to anything that's life-changing. And we're all looking for that life-changing, you know, blow off top type of stuff, right? At least that's what I'm waiting on. Looked over several of your videos to help me. Oh, okay, so you just found me on YouTube. Well, sweet. That's the whole point, right? That's where you want to have people find you, but I wasn't aware that's where you found me. So good. I hope they helped. I mean, those are videos. When I first started this channel, that was what I had another YouTuber that was a paid group I was in, and the guy that ran that group, that's what he told me. He told me you should start a YouTube channel, and he said that the first thing you should do is make, you know, 50 videos or so that are just videos people can come back to. Like they aren't just a daily market update that is only relevant for a day or two, right? Make some videos that can be helpful, that people might find your channel on, that have nothing to do with the day-to-day. So that's what I did. I put together what I thought was helpful, the basics, you know, because that's kind of still how I trade to this day, is basic. I don't hop into like 42 indicators and stuff like that. So very helpful videos. Good. Yeah, I know. I think we all are, and I don't feel that we're. I don't know how you guys feel as the general pulse of the market, but I really don't think we're quite there yet. I actually think we're more likely to break down below 60 in the next month than we are to break above 74. But that being said, I also wouldn't be surprised if we continue to just range for the next month, and then I just think the bigger breakout we're waiting on is probably going to happen sometime between July and middle of August. That's just my guess. And it really is more of just based on the timing of when things usually happen inside of crypto. So We got about 5 to 10 more minutes, so I'm just gonna go ahead, and that's pretty much all I wanted to mention on dominance. I think I finished explaining it. I kind of get on tangents, but basically all I was getting at, and we can pull up one little other picture to kind of explain this whole idea too. And this is what we're kind of waiting on inside of the bigger picture of things, right? This shows you the different phases, and I don't think these are always perfect. I wish they were, it'd be easier to trade, obviously, if they were, or know where to put your money. But they do, money does generally follow this idea, so I still think it's relevant enough to show. So you have what's called phase one, which I would say would definitely happened when Bitcoin broke above, well, basically it was happening for several months after the bear market, but definitely happened after the ETF was approved, and then Bitcoin went on to break its old high, put in a new high. I mean, all you heard about on every channel, even the news, which still the news is actually talking about Bitcoin still here and there, but not what it was. But you definitely have all the attention, and even right now, the attention is mostly on Bitcoin, right? Ethereum, even though its ETF, I believe, just got approved. You might have to correct me if I'm wrong. I think that happened sometime in the last few weeks or month or whatever that was. But I don't think, because Bitcoin's not performing great right at the moment, it hasn't really truly had its run. But it had a little run, and in fact, it had its run basically with Bitcoin, I feel like. But at some point, there will be a phase where Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin, and we'll talk about that chart maybe on my next live stream. There is an Ethereum's dominance chart too, and it's useful to look at because it can help you gauge between it and kind of total 3. It can help you gauge when an alt season might actually be beginning, because when you have a consistent, we're not talking like 1 day or 2 days of Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin. We're talking like if it outperforms it for like a week, 2, and it just has a stronger technical pattern than Bitcoin, dominance anyway, that you might be in, that might be the beginning of an alt season. And so that's kind of where alt seasons begin, is Ethereum. And then it says large caps. I think nowadays it'd be meme coins, but which aren't large caps. Some of them are SHIB, but and Doge. But somewhere in here, I think the rules have changed over the years. But in general, this chart says that the money goes to the large caps after that. So then you might see, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if this particular run, it actually is the opposite. I wouldn't be surprised if an alt season begins with all the lower caps. Everybody's disappointed in their XRPs and their ADAs and their DOTs and their atoms and all of that, their algos, their XLMs, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually what ends the actual blow off top. They finally have a run. Everybody's like, oh, here we go. Maybe they don't get the price they hope for, maybe they do, but that's kind of I've had this kind of opinion for a while now, because I feel like the last bull run kind of did that. I remember a few coins like Litecoin and DOT having their big run finally, and that was where it all ended. Or at least especially where the first blow off top happened was when the large caps were moving. So these two phases kind of are interchangeable in my opinion, but at least it helps you to get an idea of how money flows inside the market, because a lot of your guys that have lots and lots and lots of money, millionaires and in often cases billionaires, they'll put their money where is the smart one to start with, which is Bitcoin. But after they make a ton of money because they were smart enough to buy Bitcoin when it was 15, 20, 25K with $300 million worth of Bitcoin, they're going to take profits at some point, right? And Bitcoin's going to consolidate. And then they're going to turn that profit into Ethereum and wait for it to have a run. And then they're going to turn that profit into those coins we talked about. And so, anyhow, that's a couple different things I wanted to mention as far as Bitcoin dominance goes. And catch up on the chat. Thanks. I'll try to catch your next live stream. Yeah, I think I'll be able to do them at least 3 nights a week. And in fact, if I can get them to where they actually are entertaining, which, I know this one probably isn't, but at some point I think I will get better at them. They'd be easier. They'll be easier for me than making videos every day, because the editing process will be a lot less, right? I'll be able to just post the video, give updates on things. I'll even start doing my coin price predictions live. I'll let people in chat mention a few coins that are somewhere inside the top 500, and we can look at theoretical prices based, or coins they think will get to the top 500 at least anyway, and we can look at theoretical prices, go over that my formula that I came up with. I don't know if you've been checking out those price prediction videos, Kim, but I mean, that's something I'm pretty proud of coming up with. I don't know how accurate it'll be, obviously, but I think it's a cool idea, and I think it at least gives you a general area for a lot of coins to look for profit taking and things like that. So our last topic is the number of alts to hold. Now, this is not really going to be like we won't call it preaching or anything, because I think this all comes down to personal preference, but I wanted to at least talk about it, especially for anybody that happens to watch this stream that's either new or, even better, someone that was in the last bull run that bought a bunch of coins. I actually know a guy, he's in my trading group. I won't mention his name, of course, however, but he's a good friend of mine, another guy that I think if he lived nearby and was my neighbor, we'd be friends, outside of the internet. But he bought a lot of altcoins last season. And I think that the general consensus among people that have been in crypto a while is, number one, I'm going to actually put a whole video out about this, but there's some false narratives that go around in crypto. And the first one I always hear is that every coin will at least visit its previous all-time high. And I know a guy like Rigo's been around long enough. Kim maybe so as well, I don't know. But I know Rigo for sure knows that that's not true, but I think that a big majority of people that have been in crypto for a while, that are newer to crypto, but even some that have been in a while, really do believe that, altcoins will all at least go to their previous all-time high, which is just not true. There's definitely several coins you can look at from the last bull run, like XRP. Now, granted, it did have some reasons behind why it didn't, but at the end of the day, it didn't. Most coins last bull run did, at least the top 100 did. So this might seem like it's not false, but you got to understand the longer a coin's been around, and my price projection videos have kind of exposed this, but you get more and more circulating supply, which just means there's more tokens, which means the price or the amount of money in said token has to go higher in order to even reach the same price. And I've talked about that in a few of my price projection videos. This was a good lie. Well, thank you, brother. I really do appreciate that. I hope I get better at it too. But as long as the first one wasn't a complete failure, we'll consider that a success. But so anyway, back to what I was saying. So the number one false narrative, in my opinion, is that all altcoins will reach their previous all-time high. I don't think a lot of them will, or even if they do, and you're lucky enough to get that. False narrative number two is that everybody believes that they're going to at least double or triple, 2 or 3x from that. Well, if you look back at even if we pull up something like Litecoin. Let's bring up Litecoin. And I actually like Litecoin. I think Litecoin is a good OG coin. I was excited last bull run when it finally broke its all-time high, right? But this is probably not the best chart I pulled up. But if we look back here to even just 2018, right? It was at $255. Well, its all-time high, which happened last bull run in May of 2021, was $415. Well, that's not double 260, right? That wasn't even a 2x. And so, it'd be foolish to think that even if it breaks this cycle, then it's going to suddenly do a 3x from there, right? Because it didn't even do a 2x last time from its other all-time high. And so, if this one does break, you're looking at maybe half of that. So that was $100 and some odd, 150 or whatever it was. So maybe you only get a 75, maybe you only hit $500 this time. And I think if that happened, especially from where the price is now, you'd have to look at that as like a giant success. Now, I haven't done, I did do a price projection video on Litecoin. It was probably some of the ones that I lost when I said my trading view reset. If it is still there, it would actually be on the MEXC chart. So let's go look and see if I still have those price projections for that. MEXC. I do. Okay, sweet. That didn't reset. So, I was giving my safe prediction. So I did have it break in, 434. But that was my predictions, which I didn't put on this chart, are always based around $115,000 Bitcoin. So, I was predicting based on my formula that Litecoin wouldn't, at $115,000 Bitcoin, at the end of the bull run, would still barely put in a new all-time high. And to me, I put safe on here, but that might even be aggressive. But I hope I'm wrong. I really am hoping I'm wrong on most of the OG coins. But that was one. I remember that DOT was one of the very last coins to run before everything kind of crashed in November of 2021. But DOT was another one that, I guess that chart's not old enough to show. Let's find I don't know what DOT's been on the longest. I really don't. Binance. Well, anyway, DOT may have actually put in a pretty significant new high. I don't remember what DOT's old high was from. I don't know what chart has the most history for DOT, but anyway, so that's the two false narratives I wanted to bring up. Another idea that a lot of people have is, or a problem people have, is just cutting losses on coins that they have held forever. I know Rigo brought this up earlier in the chat, that he wants to sell off some of his old coins. I think, how did you word that, Rigo? You said, I'm going to buy new altcoins. Got too many that have experienced a bull run already. And I think what he's basically getting at is the same thing I'm saying, is that I think there's more potential, especially from a gain standpoint. I do think there's some safety in holding the older coins that have good fundamentals. I mean, DOT isn't doing anything, but I do think it will have a run at some point. Question is it too late? And when it has its run, how high does it actually go? Same with Litecoin, same with XRP, same with Algo, all those coins that I've been making videos about that are OG coins. I do think there is some safety in holding those. In fact, I was going to mention during this segment the coins that I'm holding. I've got about 5 more minutes before I've got to get off, so I'll go ahead and kind of try to wrap things up. But now, as far as coins that I hold, I have Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then the only other 2 large cap coins I even hold or have money in right now is Link, which I've had for quite some time. It's one of the first coins I actually ever bought in the previous bull run. Didn't sell enough of it when it had its run last bull run. My average price on Link's still good. In fact, right now I'm in profits on Link. But Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Link and Solana are my only 4 large cap coins, like large cap, I mean. And I believe outside of Solana I'm in profits too. So I'm in profits on all of them, but not Solana is probably the one I'm in the least in profits. I didn't buy Solana until this bull run. I'd be way in profits, I'm sure, if I'd have bought it during the bear market. But so those are my 4. But I wouldn't mind. There's definitely many more that I think are good to hold. I mentioned DOT. I still think Cardano is not a bad coin. I don't know that it's going to have as good of a run as its diehard fan base hopes it does. But that if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Right? But let's pull me back up to wrap things up. But those are my 4 large caps. I do think it's not super wise to hold more than maybe like 10 coins overall. So how you decide to break that up, I try to break it up kind of as 3 to 4 large caps, 3 to 4 mid caps, we'll call them, and then maybe a couple of speculative small cap coins. On that topic, I have 3 what I call mid caps. I don't know, they could still be called large caps depending on how you look at them, but I've got CASPA, so CAS. It's just a coin that I think is going to get a lot of hype this bull run. Already has, mainly is why I've been following it and have purchased some. It's one of the coins I have picked up on the dips, along with Teo. BitTensor, I believe, is its full term. And I don't know the fundamentals behind these coins super well. I just don't. A lot of it's based on the hype that these coins are getting and the overall potential I think they have. And we'll talk about this in the next live stream as well. We'll talk a little bit about tokenomics and why you want to maybe not hold on to coins past this bull run if you can help it, just because the price potential in the next year to year and a half is much better than it may be in the next 3 to 4 years, unless you have a really strong coin that has a long-term outlook. And then the only other 2 coins that I have money in right now, so let's see what this adds up to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 coins. So I guess that's pretty close to the 10 I mentioned. I have money in VRA. That's one of my bigger bags, actually, as far as small tokens go. I know that Rigo loves that coin and will be happy to hear that, although I've told him before that I have quite a bit of VRA. He's the one that put VRA on my radar, actually. And so it's one of the few coins that I actually dollar cost averaged into during the bear market, which if we pulled its chart up, which I'm not going to right now, but if we did, it's looking ugly at the moment. It's getting down to some awesome prices again, some of the prices I was buying it at during the bear market, to be honest. But that being said, I'm in the negative on VRA. It's my only coin outside of the next one I'm going to mention that I'm in the red on, but I'm barely in the red. And I feel very optimistic about that, because to me, that coin's got a ton of upside. Unless it dies off somehow completely in the next 6 months to a year, VRA is one of those that, out of the coins that I hold at least, I think has 10x to 30x potential. Whereas, you're not going to get a 10x out of Bitcoin, in my opinion, or Ethereum, obviously. Solana, no. I mean, all the other coins I mentioned, maybe Beam surprises me and does something like a 10x. Doubtful. But really, VRA is the one that, out of the coins I currently hold, I have some other ones that I'll talk about in future streams that I'm looking at, I just don't own yet, that have the same potential in my mind. But VRA, out of the coins I hold, that would be the one that I think has the most upside. And then Sursh, now this is another one that Rigo put on my radar. I made a video about it. Maybe I'll put the link in the description when I post this live stream. Serenity Shield. I'm at a loss on it by a little bit. I've been kind of buying it at around 20 cents. I want to say my average buy is like 24-ish cents or something like that, and it's below that right now. But I mean, it's a brand new coin, so it's just consolidating right now. We'll talk about it too in future live streams. It's another one that, of course, if it gets going, it's my by far my lowest cap coin that I hold. So it's got potential to do crazy things. But anyway, so I wanted to mainly point out that, number one, I don't believe that assuming that coins will all put a new all-time high is a safe or smart idea. And number two, I definitely don't think it's smart to hold more than 10 coins. If you have more than 10, let's say you have 30 coins right now, Depending on your, risk tolerance, maybe that's okay. If they're all newer, maybe that's okay. I say maybe because I wouldn't personally do it, but I don't want to sit here and tell you shouldn't. But if you're holding on to 30 coins and 23 of them are from last bull run, and half of those are like coins like, what was it, Mana, Sand, Alice, gamer tokens, or whatever was hot last bull run, and you're hoping that they're going to change your life this one, I'm not saying they won't, but I just don't know that I'd hold on to those. I would just view whatever money you have in those as just money, not as a coin that you have a loss on and that you can't part with because you don't want to lose whatever money you bought it at. Just look at it as whatever money you have now, and consider, not financial advice, but consider selling them and do some research on other tokens out of what you hold possibly, or maybe that you don't hold, and try to bring your 30, maybe it's 40. I know one guy that I know that I was referring to earlier that has like 60 coins. I think that it'd be smart to get that down to like 10. Maybe if you have 60, get it down to 20. Try to cut it in three, thirds essentially. If you've got 25 coins, if you can get it down to like 8 to 10, I mean, that's just, to me, going to be more successful. You'll need to do some research. You'll want to split it between, some large caps, mid caps, small caps, and, just, it makes it easier to track, number one. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons it makes it easier, but that's all I really want to point out in today's stream. Again, I appreciate those that did stop by. Hopefully some of you will watch this later. If you see it, leave me a comment. Let me know what I did wrong, right? What you'd like to see me talk about in the future videos. I'll be actually live again tomorrow night around 6 p.m. Eastern time. So, I'll look in the comments between now and then. Let me know what I should maybe focus on as far as topics go. Otherwise, I hope everybody has a good rest of your day. Rigo, again, thanks for stopping in. I really do appreciate you. He says, Search just needs to get a $100 million cap and we're good. Yeah, Search, I think, is at like a 2. It might be less than that now, or somewhere floating around that. I won't pull it up, but that's one definitely, if it gets to a $100 million market cap, I think that me and him will be going on a vacation. And then, Kim, thank you for stopping in. I don't think you're still here, but if you were, I appreciate you guys. As always, remember, guys, to invest in yourself, and have a good rest of your day.